The morning sun beat down on the training facility as Lieutenant Marcus Chun walked slowly toward the formation line, his worn boots scraping against the concrete. At 62, he shouldn't have been there at all. His gray hair was cropped military short, but the lines etched deep into his face told stories that none of these fresh-faced recruits could imagine. Behind him, he heard the snickers before he even took his place in line. Before we continue, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching this from. And if you believe our veterans deserve respect no matter their age, hit that like button right now. Is that someone's grandpa? A recruit whispered not quietly enough. Laughter rippled through the formation like wind through wheat. Marcus kept his eyes forward, his spine straight despite the arthritis that flared in his lower back. He'd heard worse. Much worse. The recruits were in their early 20s, their uniforms crisp and new, their confidence bulletproof. They stood beside him like young oaks next to an ancient tree, assuming the old wood was ready to fall. One recruit, a tall kid with a sharp jaw named Davis, leaned toward his buddy. "What's he doing here?" "This isn't career day at the retirement home." More laughter. Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but he said nothing. He simply adjusted his stance and waited. On his right shoulder, barely visible beneath his jacket, was a patch. Faded olive green with gold threading, it had seen better days just like him. But what was on that patch? What could possibly make a general stop in her tracks? Keep watching, because what happens next will give you chills. The inspection was part of a special ceremony, a tradition where the base general personally reviewed a mixed formation of new recruits and returning reservists. Marcus had received the notice 3 weeks ago, a formal letter requesting his presence. He hadn't wanted to come. The memories were heavy things, and he'd learned to carry them alone. But the letter had been insistent, and something in the wording made him feel like he didn't have a choice. General Patricia Hawthorne strode onto the field with the bearing of someone who de-earned every star on her shoulder. She began her inspection at the far end of the line, moving methodically, pausing to speak with each recruit, asking them about their training, their families, their reasons for serving. The young soldiers stood taller under her attention, pride swelling in their chests. As she moved closer to Marcus, Davis muttered again, just loud enough to be heard by those nearby. "Watch. She's probably going to ask him if he needs help finding the senior center." The recruits around him struggled to contain their grins. General Hawthorne reached Marcus. Her eyes swept over him once, then stopped. Her gaze locked onto the patch on his shoulder, and something changed in her face. The professional mask fell away, replaced by something raw and unguarded. She went completely still. "That patch," she said, her voice suddenly thick. "Where did you get that patch?" Marcus met her eyes for the first time. "Kisan, ma'am, 2nd Battalion, 26th Marines. January through April, 1968. The general's hand went to her mouth. Around them, the smiles faded from the recruits' faces as they sensed the shift in atmosphere. "You're one of them," she whispered. "You're one of the men who held the firebase." Marcus nodded once, a small movement that carried the weight of decades. 6,000 of us went in, ma'am." "Not all of us made it out." General Hawthorne's eyes glistened. She stepped closer, her voice dropping so that everyone had to strain to hear. "My father was there, Captain James Hawthorne. He was evacuated with injuries in March of '68. He survived because men like you held that position against impossible odds. 77 days under constant bombardment, outnumbered, outgunned. He told me stories about the courage he witnessed there, about brothers who gave everything so others could live." She turned to address the formation, her voice now commanding and clear. "This man stands before you wearing a patch that represents one of the most brutal sieges in modern warfare. While you were learning to walk, to read, to live your comfortable lives, men like Lieutenant Chun were holding a hill in Vietnam, surrounded by 20,000 enemy soldiers. They endured artillery that never stopped, supplies that ran desperately low, and the constant presence of death. They fought not for glory, but for each other, for survival. For honor, the recruits stood frozen, shame coloring their faces. Davis looked at the ground, his earlier arrogance completely evaporated. The general turned back to Marcus, and in a gesture that shocked everyone present, she saluted him. Not the casual salute of routine military courtesy, but a slow, deliberate salute of profound respect. Thank you for your service, Lieutenant. Thank you for your sacrifice. My father lived to raise me because of men like you. I am a general today because you gave him tomorrow. Marcus returned the salute. And for the first time in years, he felt the burden on his shoulders lighten just slightly. Around him, one by one, every recruit raised their hands in salute, their faces transformed by understanding. The old veteran stood there in the morning sun, no longer alone with his memories, finally seeing what he'd forgotten through years of silence and isolation. His service had mattered. His sacrifice had echoed forward through time, creating ripples that touched shores he'd never see. And in the eyes of these young soldiers he saw not mockery, but the beginning of wisdom. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that every person has a story worth honoring, then please subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Because stories like Marcus's deserve to be remembered, and heroes like him deserve our gratitude no matter how much time has passed. Hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss another story that matters. Thank you for watching, and remember, respect costs nothing but means everything.